that they could have a God like all of the other nations, a God that was tangible, a God they could see, a God that was contemporary, a God that was relevant, a God they could get excited about. And the first high priest, consecrated by God himself, acceded to these demands from the people and built them a golden calf. Now, in the meantime, while this was going on, initially, Moses, you recall, had been on Sinai in a relationship with God. And God knew what was going on at the foot of the mountain. Moses didn't. Listen to what God says to Moses in verse 7. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go, get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. And they have made themselves a molded calf, and worshipped it, and sacrificed to it. And they said, 'This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt.' And the Lord said to Moses, 'I have seen this people, and indeed it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I will consume them.'" Now the people were engaged in religion. But the religion they were celebrating was a religion that had a theology of this world. A theology that distorted and corrupted the very character of God. A theology that moved away from true and honorable worship of God to the worship of creaturely, man-made things. And God said to Moses, "Look at this. They're worshiping this calf. And they're saying, 'This is the God who brought us out of the land of Egypt.' As if that calf made by their own hands could have delivered them from anything. They prayed to the calf. They offered worships and sacrifices to this calf. And the calf was deaf. The calf was dumb. It couldn't see anything. It couldn't do anything. It was not omnipotent, but impotent. But it was a substitute for the living God. Now, in the first chapter of Romans, the Apostle Paul says that God has revealed himself through the things that are made so clearly and so manifestly that everyone in this world knows the eternal power and deity of God. And yet the primary sin of the human race is to take that knowledge of God and to push it down, to do what the Apostle says in Romans, to suppress the truth and hold it in unrighteousness, and then exchange that truth for a lie and serve the creature rather than the Creator. The exchange is between the uncorruptible, transcendent, holy God who is for the corruption of creaturely things. In other words, friends, the most basic sin that we, not just pagans in far-off Aborigine lands or in primitive tribes commit, but that we commit, is the besetting sin, the proclivity for idolatry. And idolatry involves religion. But even the Christian religion can be idolatrous. When we strip God of his true attributes and place at the center of our worship something other than God himself. Now, if we're going to look at the essence of Reformed theology, I have to say to you that the most strict focus of Reformed theology is on theology. on the knowledge of the true God. We live in a day when people say theology doesn't matter. This is what David Wells was decrying in his book, No Place for Truth. What counts is feeling good, being ministered unto in our psychological needs, having a place where we can feel the warmth of fellowship and have a sense of belonging and of relevance. And theology is something that divides, something that stirs up controversy and debates. We don't need doctrine, we're told. We need life. Well, at the heart of Reformed theology is the affirmation that theology is life. Because theology is the knowledge of God. And there's no more important knowledge that exists to inform our lives than the knowledge of God. This is what the Protestant Reformation was all about. There were scandals in the priesthood. There were problems of immorality, both among the Roman Catholic people and among the Protestant people. And Luther at that time said Erasmus attacked the Pope in his belly. He said, I've attacked him in his doctrine. And Luther even admitted, he said, we find scandalous behavior among our own people, but what we're trying to do first is come to a sound understanding of God. Because our lives will never be reformed. Our lives will never be brought into conformity to Christ until we first have a clear understanding of the original form, of the model, of the ideal, of true humanity that is found in Christ. And that's a matter of theology. So we start with the clear acknowledgement that the Reformed faith is a theology that permeates the whole structure.